Nothing.
Why not?
Daddy's money. My father just gave me money every month and I live here in Miami.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Where are you guys from?
Italy.
So what do you do with your life?
Just hang out with girls, go in the clubs
This guy has an amazing life. So let me ask you this. How long is this lifestyle going to last?
until I get bored.
Are you not bored yet?
Absolutely not.
So your dad is okay with paying your bills and taking care of you for how long?
Until I get bored.
And then when you get bored, what are you going to do?
Let's see. I don't know.
How does someone get this opportunity like you do?
Just make your father work. I don't know.
Okay, guys, we're live here. Let me see. Let me pull up the live chat. Oh shit! I forgot to shield the stream. Okay, well let me start this stream off, staring at my iPhone, shilling it to the servers that I would normally be shilling it at.
All right.
Yeah, shilling it over here. Shilling it over here. Tonight we've got a very, very interesting episode. We've got a man who, you're Dutch, right? I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
It's not going to be like Grell, I called you Dutch for years and you actually live in Belgium. Or I don't know, maybe he considers himself a Dutch Belgian. I don't want to get into that. But
It's close to the border, somewhat.
now, aren't you guys like part of the same? Okay, I don't want to get into your ethnos and your local city that you might be both part of. Okay. No doxing.
I will
no
talk
doxing.
about that for hours.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you want to, maybe we can get into some of that stuff. If it has to do with your work, feel free. But anyway, guys, so we are here today talking about work and fucking how much we hate work. And I decided to get into the real wagey spirit by cortisol maxing, just getting absolutely infuriated. And I haven't had any sort of stimulants or anything like that for since the last stream, so over 2 weeks. And now I've just had 2 giant cups of coffee and my heart is fucking racing. I'm going absolutely ape shit, and I'm thinking about the very brief time in my life where I did actually have to work. So we're going to go over your work experience, and this is mostly about you, because you were the one who really actually has work experience, and you actually currently work, and you're probably a real ragey over it, and you probably really fucking hate it.
I'm so fucking furious about it.
So I'll just...
It's almost...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what?
It's just awful, you know.
It's rope fuel. They really call it rope fuel for a good reason. Or some people, they have these massive copes about it. They say that, oh no, it's not rope fuel. Actually, work can keep you distracted from, like how ropeable your life is, or maybe that's the case for some people who are like genuine subhumans. I don't know, maybe. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
well, for me, I'm just going to go over my quick work experience. So, from 0 to 18, I lived off of a daddy's money. I didn't work. They never made me do school. Like, I never had a paper route. I never did anything at my father's businesses except he owned restaurants, and I would like sit there and eat the food and get served by his staff. And I didn't ever do anything at these places. And then when I was a teenager, they didn't make me work. I didn't have to, oh, well, we're not going to give you money. We're just going to, no, this is how I made money. My dad, he gave me access to his cards, not to buy stuff. He would just buy food for everyone, buy whatever for everyone. But he gave me access to cards so I could do cryptocurrency trading and then make money that way. And then, that really got me into buying drugs. That turned me into a really degenerate, like 13, 14, 15-year-old, full-blown drug addict by 18. By 18, there was no more daddy's money because they just didn't want to deal with the way I was turning out. They couldn't provide that cash for me to go do that. Didn't believe in that. So even, essentially that was over. And I went to college, and that was terrible. I only did that to get the loans. Again, in America, you have to get loans, but you can take out shitloads of loans and get crazy amounts of money. And I just squandered it, but I used it to live. And then for the only real job I ever had in my life, I joined the Army I signed a 4-year contract, and I was in it for 2 years and 4 months and exactly for 240 or wait, yeah, 2 months and 20 days, or 2 years, 2 months and 20 days or something. 222. And then I was out, or 3 days, 223. And then I got out of the military, and from that point on, I have been an absolute NEET on disability bucks. So I've actually been paid either by my father for doing nothing, essentially, and then I did some crypto trading as a teenager and a lot of drugs, and then I was in the Army briefly. But for half the time I was in the Army, I was injured, and they didn't make me work as a result of being injured. So I really only have, the only work experience in my life is the 3 months of basic training. We had an extended basic training because of COVID, and then 9 months where they trained me to be a satellite operator. And then other than that, I got injured, and I've been on free money for the rest of my life. So I have 1 solid year of work, and it was the first year of the military. That's it. But I can, and that's all I need to know that work is awful. That's all I need to know. So I'll get into more of my shit later if I have anything specific comments, because I'm sure it'll relate to what you have to say. But I've been taking all of the space here, Banky. So why don't you just explain why you hate work, what your work experience is? What do you want to say?
Like, I've been working at so many different places, like all over the place. Just like regular shit jobs somewhere in between. Like trying to finish college, but honestly, I fucking hate college. I don't mind like college type work, but it's like just having to listen to teachers. I always get like a problem with them. I always have many problems with them. I don't like listening to them. I just hate school, so it's very difficult for me. But in the meanwhile, I always do like shit jobs, and I do it just so many hours a week. I did so many jobs. Now I'm working retail at the moment. I've done I worked McDonald's, and if you really want to know how awful work can be, you should hear it. I'll talk about McDonald's. It's honestly the worst shit I've ever done. But then there are some other jobs that are a bit more fun. Just like I've worked a bit on a farm, and that's just like you're in the open field, it's nice weather, you're talking with people, talking shit. That's fun. But then you go to McDonald's, and that's just such a horrible place. Because The thing is that I always say that it's horrible about it because it's a place where people go like, oh, I need a job on the side, I need a little job in between things. And then you have the managers. Those are the people that come there for a little while, but then get stuck in life and get stuck in that place. And just stay there forever and become very bitter and sour and hateful towards everybody there. Just the most miserable people that rule over you and can micromanage your every movement. That's the most horrible thing about work.
And then what you said about the farm, I kind of considered maybe it's more seasonal work. Maybe it's because it's more closer to what people did in nature. Like, because if you think about medieval serfs, I saw this. I don't know if it was a study or someone just they just read diaries and figured out how much did medieval serfs actually work, because they love to call us serfs. But then you actually look into the life of a serf, and most of their life was just waiting for the harvest. So maybe they got like pressed into labor to go build a wall for 2 weeks, or maybe this or that. Maybe they had to go help the king with some bullshit, be levied and then be a spearman or whatever. But most of his life, he was just waiting for the farming, which was a month and a half of the year, or 2 months of the year, 3 months of the year, depending on the area of the location. And most of the year was just chilling, relaxing, and you did it with people that you liked. Like you said, you're doing it with buddies who you become very familiar with since they're your neighbors for life. So what are you going to do? You're going to absolutely hate them? No, you're pretty much you're going to have to like them, or it's not going to work out. And
I think like the people say the things about the serf is because the serf is basically somebody that is tied to the land. He doesn't have property. All the property that he has is of the Lord, and he only uses it. And I think that's the kind of. I remember like the big reset, Klaus Schwab kind of stuff from 5 years ago.
Yes.
That's all. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Like, that's the kind of life that the serf had.
It reminds me of cloud computing. I'm getting so sick of this. Asmongold, this very ugly man who's a very famous, successful YouTube streamer, and then also Bill Gates, I've heard talking about cloud computing, and both of them going, obviously no one's going to have localized computing. In 100 years, nobody's going to have a local computer. You're not going to own a computer. Everything's going to be cloud computed. And I'm like, oh my God, this is surf maxing. You're not going to own your own computer. And then it's going to be just like you can't run local programs, and you can't, so they're going to be able to sue you for anything you do, because it's all going to be on a platform that can get sued, and you can't run anything local. And it's just a way to make you as open to lawsuits as a fucking company like X. It's to take away your rights to fucking freedom and privacy and blah, 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 and being a serf and owning nothing and being happy. Just like Klaus Schwab, just like the serf. But I mean, the serf, it was just his house. Like, it was just basically he could get kicked out of his house for not doing his job. But in practice, like, how bad was it really? Were they actually going to get made to go sleep in the snow and die? I mean, maybe they would starve to death. I guess if there's a famine, they're the first people to starve to death.
I think the problem was that a feudal lord couldn't control as much. Like, he was there sometimes riding on a horse, maybe have some lower nobility ruling that little town, but they don't have like the ability for total control like you can with the digital world.
They can't.
I think that's the
control and monitor the whole nation at any time with Pegasus spyware that can take over their mobile phones, shut down their bank accounts. Yeah, I mean, a serf, if he wanted to somehow steal, he could, and then he could go hide that gold, and then there's no way for them to shut down his bank account, or he's not going to fly out of the country and, oh, well, he can't fly out of the country with gold. No, he could get on a horse with his gold and leave. And there was opportunities. There was that sort of stuff. They're making it such a strict, hard system now where it's like you can't leave this land because there's a fucking satellite system with, hooked up to gunships, and you're gonna get blown out of the fucking sea if you try to leave by. And it's like North Korea. They're trying to make every country North Korea except faker and gayer.
That's the worst part about it. It's not even cool totalitarianism.
None of the cool aesthetics. That's the best thing about North Korea. The best aesthetics. Okay.
I mean, like,
Let talk about McDonald's more. I mean, we already got. Unless you want to talk about digital serfdom, whatever the fuck you want to say. I'm not here to police your words.
No, you're not one of the digital feudal lords.
No. Even in my, I'll say this: I run a server now for 6 years. I guess I think I started running it when last year of DJ Axel's server before he kicked me out in 2019 or 2020. I think he kicked me out. So to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm almost on this. I'm almost on year 7 of running a server, and I don't think I've ever kicked out a single person. And I don't like to mute people. And even when people insult me, call me retard, call me fat, I don't like. I have the exact. I can't be like, I like Hitler, I like authoritarianism, I like communism. I think people who like tell other people what to do is cool. And what's his face? The Nietzsche, you know, fucking imposing your will on others is based, you know, philosophy is gay, crush their ideologies with a hammer and impose your own will and da-da-da-da. Like, I love all that stuff in principle, but in practice, I'm such a passive.
Just a chill guy.
Yeah, I'm just a chill guy. I'm just like that. The meme of the dog is just a chill guy. I'm just a chill guy, and I can't possibly tell people what to do because that's just not. That's not in me. That's not who I am. Yeah, exactly. It's not who I am. So I would be the serf, or I would be more of like a chill merchant, or I think maybe I have it in me to be a warrior. It doesn't matter. But say what you wanted to say, because yeah, I can't. I can't. So I can't shut you down because it's not in my nature.
No,
I don't even like to. I don't even like to interrupt.
But the thing is, like, all right, let me go back to McDonald's. It's just like, if you ever work with McDonald's, it's like the entire system is practically retard-proof. You really have to screw up to make it, because it's all simple movements. You do like, you stand there for like 8 hours and you do like one thing. All right. You put a burger on the grill, you take it off, you know, that kind of stuff. One task, 8 hours long. That's what you do.
So it's repetitive. It's the repetitiveness of the work. It's the kind of work that a 90 IQ could be trained at.
Yeah, exactly like that. And then everybody has their own little function. Somebody just toasts the bread. Somebody puts on the sauce. Somebody puts on the meat. And it's like that for 8 hours straight. And then when, like later on in the night, you maybe do like 2 things at the same time, but it's repetitive. It's horrible. And I think one of the things that there was the most psychological torture about it, it's like you have computers all over the place where you see the orders, and there's like a clock there constantly. If you know, the one thing that is good about the job is that it passes the time. Just like, yeah, you're busy with something, you do something, and then in 2 hours have passed, and you think, oh yeah, nice, almost done with work. But then you see the clock. You see like, oh no, only 3 minutes have passed, 2 minutes have passed. You're constantly reminded that you're here forever.
Oh man, that reminds me. In my work, in the second half of my year of the Army, which is where I didn't do any real work, and I can say that because they said that I was brain damaged and I had cervical spinal damage. They said I was a bunch of stuff, so they couldn't make me do physical training. They couldn't make me go out into the field, essentially. They couldn't make me ruck march. They couldn't make me do a lot of stuff. And I was trained as a satellite operator, but they sent me to a place where if you're not going out and training in the field to do that stuff, you basically have no opportunity at all to ever get on what's called the STT, ANTSC 156 Delta, this stuff I was trained on, specific units. And if you're not going out into the field, they can't train you to do that. So they sent me, essentially my job, the actual job location for the second year and 4 months was in a place called The Cage. And The Cage was inside of the motor pool. And the motor pool this is going to give away some secrets of the U.S. military and how ready it is. In the motor pool, you have all of the vehicles of the entire company. And I was part of a company. I was part of something called Divisional Artillery. I guess it's a company equivalent. It's mechanized. It's got artillery. And then we're like we were the communications section of the artillery company called divisional of the division called Divisional Artillery. So it's the company of artillery inside of the division. And inside of the cage, we would just sit there for hours on our phones because they gave us no tasks, mostly. If we're not in the field, giving people Facebook and, Twitter and all that stuff, if we're not giving them internet access when they're stuck out there, they basically have nothing for us to do. Or they would have us do stuff like set up radio lines and other crap, like other like bullshit. They would call it communication system stuff, because they wanted to get you trained on all sorts of things. But I was untrainable on all that sort of stuff just because they didn't see any reason to start training me in that, because they knew I was going to be out, because they knew I had brain damage and epilepsy and all this stuff. So they sent me, what they decided that they were going to do with me is they were going to because they had a massive shortage in the motor pool. In the motor pool, you have just lines and lines and lines of trucks, Humvees, all this sort of crap. And we called it when a vehicle doesn't work, when it's crap, it's called deadlined. And I got to tell you, 80% of the vehicles in the motor pool at any given time are deadlined. And if you drove them out for 10 clicks, they would be stuck, something would break, and they wouldn't go anywhere. Because these things are so old, because so many of them are from the 70s and the 80s, and they're they're just old and worn out. And so, and they're not. We were in the process of getting like the new mine resistant vehicles, because when the U.S. Army was doing the wars in the Middle East, they had Humvees which had no armor on the bottom, so the Muslims just created IEDs that just blew them up from the bottom, and there you go. They didn't have to shoot them from the sides, the armor plating from the sides, because who cares? They could just put bombs on the roads. So those things were useless in the war, and then they became useless, even more useless, when they figured out IEDs in the ground. So the Army was switching over to something called the MRAP, the Mine Resistant Armored Protected Vehicle, I believe. And those things worked, and I'm sure they're going to work much better, and they're huge, and they're so much more comfy, better seats, I think they're even AC on the inside. But nice. For the time being, those things are, because this is the United States and things can't get produced now, and they cost way too much money. This is the issue with the whole military industrial complex of the United States. Things can't get produced for a reasonable price. They can't get produced quickly in large numbers because we don't have manufacturing, because we've shipped it all to China. And then even if we could, we don't have a labor force that could actually work for these slave wages, because the people who we can import to work for slave wages are stupid. And then our native born population, they're not willing to work for that kind of money. So this country's fucked, and I don't know how they're going to fix it without onshoring manufacturing, which Trump isn't going to do. They say the tariffs are going to do that, but that's not going to happen because it won't fucking work. Long and short anyway, the United States military is probably fucked in the long term, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what we can get other countries to do. We'll see how this empire can expand. If it expands to a global empire, even more so, and we can enforce this, who knows? But I'm saying it's in a really weak state right now. So the whole motor pool is a bunch. It is breaking super hardcore, and I don't. Yeah, so the vehicles are all deadlined in the motor pool. So they decided, because they had a serious shortage of mechanics, or not a shortage, they had plenty. They were full of mechanics, but the vehicles are so ruined that they were working these guys to the bone, 16-hour days, 18-hour days for 5-6 days on end, giving them one day off on the weekends. And so they decided to just send me over to go fix Humvees with these guys. And I'm telling you, I'm a qualified Humvee mechanic. I know that shit inside and out. I could replace the wheels. I could do all that stuff. But yeah, so the motor pool is full of deadlined vehicles, and they can't get new vehicles in. So they sent a guy who they spent 9 months training to be a satellite operator to shoot up to the sky to do communication systems. They go, now we're going to have this guy work on Humvees instead. And then that's horrible. And that's the army. That's the army. So what was my point there? I don't know.
I don't know. You had like 1 year of work with the army.
Yeah, I guess 2. So 2 years of work.
Actually, I've considered joining the army as well, man.
I've heard that from so many people.
Yeah. But like, I think during Dutch army, it's a bit more I don't know. I always have the idea that American institutions are just a bit more, I don't know, reckless. They spend a lot of money on everything, and it's a wasteful. I want to say wasteful. So they have a lot of people, really a lot of people in the army, but they don't really try to keep the people. You just kind of get tossed aside at a certain point or something.
The institutions
like
are so large; they're full of hundreds of thousands or millions of people.
Yeah, and it's just wasteful because you can get like another. Because people in the United States join the army so that they can get their student loans paid, right?
Yes, yeah. So in the United States, no free school, no free health care. You can get absolutely ruined by any little thing. And essentially, private jobs, they don't offer insurance, health insurance anymore. And they don't offer student loan forgiveness programs. And they're not even really offering pensions. They offer 401ks, and that's the best you can get in the United States. You can maybe get a private healthcare plan where if you get sick, you'll still have to go bankrupt regardless. And people join the government. They really set it up so the army is the best way to make sure your life is set. And that's why the United States has such a big army with so many people. And then that's why they can dump trillions of dollars. I think the budget is 1.5 trillion US dollars a year, or 2.5 trillion. And Trump is talking, it's already the biggest on earth by far. And they're talking about, Trump says he wants to increase it by 50% or double it. And the United States can do this. The United States can do this because we have the global reserve currency. So we can just, the whole point with debt is power, because the more debt that we issue, then the more liquidity. It's essentially like a liquidity pool. If the United States dollar is a shit coin, which it is, I mean, look at the tokenomics of the United States dollar. The United States is a total shit coin.
Really?
Yeah, but it's like Dogecoin, really, where, with the amount of liquidity it provides people, all the debt the United States issues, it makes it so that everyone else has United States dollars and everyone can transact in these things because the United States issues so many of them. And every country that does this eventually, fucks themselves over in the end. You're gonna go bankrupt. It always ends the same way. But for the time being, yes, can be very wasteful.
But at the moment, like, about US debt, because here in Europe we hold a lot of US debt, and whenever like the situation with Greenland is now unfolding, I see a lot of voices here saying like we just, as Europe collectively, just like dump billions of US debt, and then you send the entire economy into a debt spiral, just like as leverage against Trump.
Yeah, but then that's where you could just threaten you with the military. That's the thing. You don't have the global reserve currency, so we can just go like, you don't want to buy our debt anymore? Maybe we're going to invade you. Maybe we're going to take Greenland. Maybe we're going to take Svalbard. I don't know. Maybe we can do a starvation policy of Germany. How do you like that? How do you like that, Europe? So that's kind of the thing the United States does.
Yeah, that's what I see on Twitter, man. Like the entire mindset of MAGA is like, we're gonna fight all the world at the same time. I don't know. Maybe America can. I don't know. Like, maybe it will be stretched thing. Maybe America is too unstable on its own. Just like,
there's a lot of people who said this before World War II, though. A lot of, because this was during the Great Depression, and this was during Franklin Delano, our second dictator, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was just had absolutely. I mean, a lot of people, they go, he wasn't a dictator, but he had just as much total control of the United States as Hitler had total control of Germany, or as Hirohito had total control of Japan, or Stalin controlled the Soviet Union. We had a legit dictator, but his New Deal, it wasn't working. Things weren't going great, and people are going, America first. We can't get involved globally. It won't work. What are we going to go fight Germany? We're going to go fight Japan. Who cares? Let them take on China. Let them take on the Soviet Union. We don't need to get involved. We need to stay uninvolved. And the interventionists won. And then they were proven right about the power of the United States to go abroad. But the thing is, we could manufacture hundreds of 500,000 planes, in 2 years. We could manufacture 500,000 tanks in 2. We had all this tooling.
You could, yeah.
No, we could manufacture anything, but we can't do that now. But warfare. Also, I've noticed this about warfare: the tanks aren't as important. The trucks aren't as important. I mean, what do you need? Motorcycles. You need motorcycles, and you need drones, and you need missiles, and you need bombs, and you need ICBMs, and you need all this. You need different things for war now. I'm not even sure. Like, let's say now what the United States did, sending millions of people over the seas on aircraft carriers and battleships and frigates to go invade the islands and then surround the Japanese home islands and then set up airfields and then do strategic bombing and firebombing and nuking. You couldn't even get this set up now. If we're going to go fight China near China, we couldn't get within striking distance of China because they have smart bombs. They have all this shit. You couldn't get the soldiers over there because they would target the aircraft carriers and the ships, and it would be just a total disaster.
Drones and stuff.
Exactly. So the nature of warfare has changed, and I'm thinking that the people running the United States military have realized that. And so the military is designed now to bully side. It's not there to fight the other great powers. It's not there to fight Russia or China. It's there to either donate to shitty little powers to have them do a war against those people for you, or you're going to go bully side small powers yourself. Like, think about aircraft carriers. Like, if a country, that's why Iran, they've developed like the missiles that are really good. That's why their number one technology is guided missiles, because if they park aircraft carriers off of Iran and then they do some real striking, they just want to be able to sink them. But most countries, they can't do that shit because they're retarded niggers or whatever, so they can't make bombs that can hit an aircraft carrier. So it's for being able to bully side most of the world. And I just don't think a world war would work out the same way. I think a world war now would be a lot what people feared in the Cold War, where it would just be nukes immediately. But I don't think they would do nukes immediately because the elites in America are Chabad Lubavitch. The elites in Russia are Chabad Lubavitch. And then the elites in Israel are Chabad Lubavitch. And then you've got maybe China, who's an independent axis from these guys. A lot of people think like Russia and America and Israel aren't on the same side here. No, it's a fake dialectic. It's a fake war. It's really Russia and America and Israel versus white Europe. It's about destroying white Europe. And then the only really independent axis of power outside of that would be the East Asians, Chinese and Japan, and even Koreans. And Japan and Korea is occupied basically by America. So even they are pretty much occupied. And you got China. That's China and Iran. China, Iran, and North Korea. That's it. That's how you've got on the side against America. And yeah, like I said, the American axis, it's really Russia. Why do you think Putin get along so well with Trump? Why do you think really, when you look at it, they keep saying, oh, we're going to get this war over. Yeah, our objective isn't to kill people. But no, Russia, they need to kill their people because they want to replace them with Central Asian guest workers. And the men are a bunch of retarded alcoholics. And they're trying to raise the IQ of these people anyway. So they're just throwing away all their low IQ fodder at the fronts because they're trying to do a eugenic thing over in Russia, get to get the people better. And then they want the Central Asian guest workers to be the slaves. And the United States, they're doing the same thing of they don't want people to like retarded people to have children, and they're trying to get people to die. Like that's what the whole fentanyl thing is about. They go like, oh, why does the United States allow our country to be flooded with cocaine and fentanyl? And it's because low IQ losers take that shit and then die, and it kills them because they're not willing to work. They're white Americans who have just been accustomed here for so long. They're not willing to work for slave wages. So they want those people to die and not have children. And they want to bring in Mexicans and people from Vietnam and the Philippines who will work for slave wages. And then maybe do like a eugenics thing for the elite population. So same in Russia, same in the United States. That's why our flags are the same. That's why we pretend to be enemies, but we really have the same goal of keeping Europe down, supporting Israel, keeping Iran under check, and then really always going back and forth. United States, you notice what Russia and the United States do with China. It's the same thing. We're friends, we're enemies, we're hot, we're cold, we're hot, we're cold. China doesn't know. It's like every few decades, it's back and forth and back and forth. They can't ever like decide who's their fucking friend in this situation. Yes, so the world war, if there's a world war, and I don't think there will be. Why don't I think there will be? Because the only independent axis here is North Korea, Iran, and China, and they could get fucked. They could get absolutely destroyed, just like we could get absolutely destroyed. It's the mutual destruction is so assured that I don't think a world war will happen. What will happen is the kind of wars we've been seeing now, where it's about killing mass numbers of people, but not really overthrowing states. That's why nothing ever happens, and except for the shitty places like Syria or whatever, it's just about securing gas fields. And the real wars will be civil wars, and they'll be inside places that exactly the global hegemony wants to destroy, which is its own countries, Europe. Basically, they want civil wars in the whole world. Everywhere is going to be civil wars, race wars, strife, and they're going to keep this going forever. And the people, they make fun of this, and because this is like the boomer Republican talking point. They always go, oh, you shouldn't talk about race because identity, that's what leftists talk about, and you should never identify with a group of people, and because the elites just want us hating each other. And it's so fucking gay, because obviously, fuck niggers, fuck trannies. I'm not gonna stand in solidarity with these people, but they're right. Of course, they're right, and they're right in the sense that the real goal is to have us fight these people. But it's an unwinnable situation. What are you gonna do? You're gonna not hate these people? You're not gonna fight the Muslims who are like they're gonna destroy all your farms, and then they're gonna set up a giant. They're gonna take your country, and then they're gonna turn it into a big mega city, and then fill it with a bunch of people from Tunisia and Morocco and Pakistan, and they're gonna create a bunch of Yeah. So you're not gonna hate these people?
So then that's the thing. What I see is like on the online right in the Netherlands. There's just like there's a bit of these Groyper kind of guys.
Yeah.
It's like the Fuentes Stars, the kind of guys that want to say like Israel is the biggest bad of all.
There are Dutch Groypers. I mean, don't they know he's about like 178? He's like 175 centimeters, right? They know he's a manlet. Like he's a turbo man.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're like autistic kids. Like they're probably around like 16, 17, and they don't have any friends, and they spend all day online, and then they just get isolated into like the little circle of Fuente Stars, and they don't go outside and meet like how actually people are. Like they don't know that this is something that only happens online, and that Fuentes doesn't really. Have no cultural bearing with like people from the Netherlands. It's people that are detached from local culture and therefore go like into Americanism,
And he hates Europeans. He really does.
Yeah, but it's like they just think like how he talks and how they want to present themselves like him, and they have like the big anti-Semitism, which is the big problem. And of course, there's calls to that, but it's more that it's like the big brownoid coalition that they make, that Moroccans and Turkish guys think like, oh, we're one of them, we're united against Israel,
Oh, yes, the Christian-Muslim alliance.
Yeah, that based alliance. Well, and I will always say that the biggest, most important political goal for like the right wing in Europe is remigration. Is that we have huge populations of people that have not integrated well. I think that's the big advantage that Europe has over America. Like America had like a founding stock, like the New England, the original 13 colonies, that kind of Anglo-Saxon nation.
And they were rejects. They were because they were Puritans. So they were people who they were so annoying that they couldn't even get along with other Lutherans and Protestants. They were no, you guys, you haven't taken it far enough. So we're gonna go to America.
All those crazy people, they they went overseas, but you had like a founding stock, but then it got diluted with slaves and
Oh, and then
just regular
they got
Germans.
replaced with they got replaced with Germans, and then they got replaced with Italian, Irish, Italians, and Polish people, and some Scandinavians, and then so you had a general northern white European thing, and then some Mediterraneans that controlled like New York City and Cuba and whatever, and then of course the slave black people, but then. It all changed. It all changed in the 30s, and the 40s, and the 50s, the 60s. We used to have stuff like called Operation Wetback, where we would just deport all the Mexicans because obviously, if you're having a global financial crisis, and you can't,
yeah.
And if the people don't have jobs. And they're like, they demand that dictator Franklin gives them jobs, or whoever. They're gonna deport all the Mexicans so that we give these people fucking farm jobs or whatever. But they won't do that now. Yeah, it's too baked in. We've had 80 years of like Mexicans and Vietnamese people and Filipinos and Chinese and Japanese and fucking Middle Eastern people. We used to have Supreme Court cases where we'd be like, no, the immigration law says free white men of good character, and you're saying that you're white because you're Indian and that's Caucasian, and that's bullshit, and that's what the Supreme Court says, so fuck you. And we just don't have that anymore. We don't have people that are that based, and maybe a lot of people think that way. And who knows? You could tell, like, maybe even J.D. Vance is, it's a sign that that's not the case because the vice president's married to a fucking Jeet. But then you have people...
No, deeply integrated, man. That's how fucking disgusting how quickly these people just infiltrate everything.
And they take... By the way, you want to know how... the Jeets, they run cartels, just like Mexican people run drug cartels. Well, the Jeets work in coordination with the Jews. That's why, Hindus, they hate Muslims, so they're in an alliance with Israel because they hate Muslims. And so Jeets are in an alliance with Jews because Jeets are low IQ, but they're like a giant slave class that can be used to take over, to destroy America. Because what they do is they bring them in, and then they'll give them a loan.
I still realize this that we gave when the Aryans invaded India for the first time.
Yes, it's repayment.
I still have blood memories. It's blood memories of Lord Indra crossing the Indus and slaughtering thousands of Dravidians.
Well, they're taking those brown people from the southern part of India, and they're doing repayment for the Aryan invasion, so they're taking over the Aryan country. They're going into America, and this is what they do. As a white person, you could never get a loan from the government. They'll give you $500,000 to buy a gas station, and then at this gas station, you can racially discriminate. You can set whatever prices you want for whoever you want. You can essentially not follow the laws of America, and then pretend. And the reason why you can't follow is that you don't speak English, you speak Hindi, so they can't even force you to do this shit because they go, oh, we can't make Indians do this type of stuff. And then the white business people, you would never get a $500,000 loan because you're white to go buy up all the gas stations and hotels in America. So all those opportunities they're taking away from you, and then they want to make you slaves to Jeets, who are themselves slaves to the Jews. So you got slaves to the Jeets, who are then slaves to the Jews, and oh man, everything is so fucked. Everything is so fucking fucked.
Racial feudal ownership.
It's crazy because it used to be free white men of good character. This country was run by white nationalists, and it's turned into Jews and Jeets run it.
But that's like the thing in which America and Europe are different because. It's good white men of character, but the definition of white is always just like, are the Irish white? Are the Germans white? Are the Scottish white? Are the Italians white?
That stuff,
Greek.
That was less debated. Because a lot of the founding, like, there's signers of the Declaration of Independence who were Irish and German. Half of them spoke German. By that point,
no, I do know that it's a bit of an overstatement, but I do
definitely the Italian stuff. Like, are Italians not white? That was certainly more. Are Italians and Greeks and Jews not white? Was certainly more common, and Indians definitely not white, of course. But there was never.
What I do really want to say is that there isn't America is fundamentally founded on immigration.
Yep.
So it's a core idea of the country. And Europe, it's more of something that we did, and we still kind of suck because of that we did it. It's always negative. There is no real positive spin towards it. We always know that the people that came here will never be truly Dutch. They're Moroccans or Turkish. Maybe some that come from the colonies are debated, but
What about like someone who's a quarter? What about Gert Wilders? Isn't he like a quarter Indonesian or something? Is he Dutch?
But he's Dutch, yeah. He's what we call Pinda, just like a little bit colonial, but
Okay.
a little bit of drops of like those kind of things. You know, they will go away. Those will dilute into the gene pool. That's not that big of a deal, you know.
Of course. It's like the average white American, and I know this is average, so of course the real number of people who have any Native American ancestry is maybe 20%, but the average white American is like, what do they say, 2% Native American, and that's just because there's so many white Americans who are like 10% Native American or 15% because they had a great grandparent that was from some tribe that is now basically non-extinct or extinct, and the only people that are left of it are all 1/8 Choctaws, and everyone else is fucking dead. So, you know, that kind of stuff will get diluted away. So there's like, you know, Ryan Dawson, that's a great example of a white American who is like, he's like a quarter Native American or maybe an eighth Native American or something. And other than that, he's just Irish. But he identifies with the Native American stuff so hard. And it's kind of cringe.
But that's like the thing. Americans always want to have like a little bit of spice, you know, like we say, oh yeah, I'm Swedish, or I'm German, I'm Italian, I'm Irish.
Yeah, well, Americans love to say, I am Italian, and they don't speak Italian, and they've never been to Italy. They live in New Jersey, and they've never left New Jersey or New York, and they don't speak Italian,
But
except they know some
Sopranos.
words. Yep.
They see Sopranos, and then they realize that the greatest Italian is Tony Soprano.
Of course. And they know that, don't you know, Marconi invented the telephone, and he was robbed! it wasn't invented in America. No. So that's why a lot of people, they saw like Italians as a fifth column that was, you know, undermined. They were really like the original subverters, Italians. Yeah, they're just like that.
Yeah, the influence of the Pope, I will.
Yes, the Pope with his pointy hat in Rome subverting America with his slaves who will do work for a cent that a white man would have done for a dime. You know, those were the kind of things they were saying back then about Mediterraneans. So, and it's true, so true.
Now we're getting back to, we're going for full circle when I'm thinking about it, because you know why work always also sucks. Is if you have a shitty job, you will work with migrants, with Poles. You know?
Yeah.
And your wages are shit because of those people.
Yes. There is no competitive labor market and you're not allowed to, because of the anti-racism and all that sort of stuff. You're not allowed to talk about this stuff and how they're depossessing you of your country and a real, like, a paying wage. So there's a lot of people in America who the rents are so high, the bills are so, you know, your phone bill's $100, your rent is $2,000, and of course, if you get sick, you're going to get bankrupted, and then your school debt, you're going to be paying off your school debt for 30 years. You get a degree, and then of course, I think the number of people who can find a job related to their degree, it's dropped to like 15% or 20%. So most of these people just pay off student loans for decades, and they never get jobs relevant to what they studied. And it's all keeping you in absolute slavery. That's why the average American has less than $500. No one has money. And then you can't talk about how these jobs, none of them pay anything because they're bringing in slave labor. It's just like Rome. It's just like the falling of Rome, really. The Roman middle class fell because they imported tons of slaves. That's what they always do it.
Like they're doing the same in Europe, because that's like the European Union. We got a lot of Poles, Bulgarians, Romanians here that just like do a lot of the shitty labor. But the thing is also, like, I do like that we kind of can help those other Europeans that are ravaged by communism.
Well, at least they're racially kind of similar. You know, how different is a Polish person really from a German? Not, I mean, was Nietzsche Polish or German? I don't even fucking know. I mean, Poland used to be part of Prussia anyway. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, are Polish guest workers in Germany really that bad?
Nietzsche was Albanian.
He's Albanian. You see, okay, well, Albanians, they're kind of mixed with the Turks. A lot of those Balkan people are kind of mixed with Turks, I think. But
the Turks are also just like extremely mixed and like only 10% real Turkish, and just like for the rest, it's like Greek and Anatolian.
Yeah, most of their DNA is Greek. I love watching those DNA tests of Turkish people, and they take a DNA test and it says that they're shattered because it says that they're like 44% Greek or 60% Greek. They're like, no.
No.
And then every single thing that's unearthed in Turkey that's not like 6,000 years old, or whenever the Turkic people were actually there, everything that's ever relevant from like classical antiquity or recent history was made by the Greeks.
It's like there's one thing that's, you know, like in the Netherlands we have Sinterklaas, right? You know that?
Yeah, well, it's the same as Santa Claus, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, but like with the blackface stuff.
Oh yeah, Black Pete.
Black Pete, yeah.
Yes.
But I'm not going to talk about blackface, however much I would like to talk about it. I'm talking about like a good old Saint Nick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Saint Nicholas, like he's like from Asia Minor during the time of the Byzantines, you know.
Yep.
But then during like when I was at like basic school, when I was small, they would always say like, yeah, but Saint Nicholas is from Turkey, because that's where Saint Nicholas is from. But they say Turkey, and like it's one of those things to feel that those Turkish kids that are here feel included.
Oh yeah, Saint Nick. Oh yeah, I mean, he may be our Christian icon or whatever, but he's Turkish.
Yeah, but and then now I feel like you know, like with the emoji with the glasses, like actually. The Turks came then for like another 500 years. So
actually the Hagia Sophia, it's not Istanbul, it's Constantinople. All that stuff was built by the Greeks. Actually they're just a bunch of genetic Greeks. Actually the people who we're bringing over are from Eastern Turkey, and they're really brown and they're less Greek, and they all have these motorcycle gangs and da.
I want to destroy the dreams of Kurdistan.
Oh yeah, exactly. And these people, man, Kurdistan is the funniest fucking thing ever, because that's like the United States tool in the Middle East. That's our tool. In a lot of people think in Iran. In Iran, we use the Kurds to every single time there's there's a genuine uprising of Iranians against the Iranian regime, and it's like, then you do exactly the inspecting looking glass, and you're like, oh, it's just a bunch of Kurdish people protesting in Kurdistan once again, and oh, why are they protesting? Oh, because a Kurdish woman was killed in police custody in Iran. So and then they do this in Syria, they do this in fucking Turkey and Iraq. It's like this Central Asian stateless people that are just constantly being promised a state, and they're never going to get it, because the United States is like, why would we want you to have a state? If you have a state with defined borders, then we can't use you as fucking terrorists against, you know, the center of the world.
Yeah.
And they're too stupid to realize it, you know. And then the craziest thing is like the number of people who are not just Americans. I mean, British people do this, because the Anglo-American order, it's still kind of intact. I mean, England is basically, they speak English, and they're so integrated with America that they'll go fight all of our wars with us. So you have like British people and American people who will go over to Kurdistan and then actually train these people and then actually fight wars with them. So they're like, the Americans are on our side. They're sending their people here. They're sending us money, weapons. Surely they want us to win. And it's like, no, if we really wanted you to win, quote unquote, we could make that happen very easily. But we don't want you to win. We want you as a fucking bludgeon. It's just like how we use that so that those countries are destabilized, so that we can get all of those people out of the way for Israel to take over and make greater Israel, and then all of these people can go to Europe, and then they can make Europe go into a civil war and keep Europe down. It's a multi-layered strategy.
Fucking hate it, man.
America is the global anti-white empire, and so is think about it.
Russia is like killing white people than anyone.
I like what Grell calls them. He calls them Mutt-Zog of the East. So you've got Zog, and then you've got Mutt-Zog of the East, and then the
I think
false.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and then the false dichotomy that they're at war, but no, same objective. Because you think about who is the allies on World War II? Russia and the United States, and it was the same exact thing: Mutt-Zog of the East and Zog of the West, and the objective was exactly the same: keep the fucking Middle Eastern people down, keep the Europe down, destroy white people, and then also both of them falsely promote Christianity, because Christianity itself, which a lot of Europeans and a lot of Americans, they think it's based and pro-white. No, when you look into it, Christianity itself is a universalist religion, and the whole point of it is to make everyone think that everyone's equal, and God made a nigger just like he made you, and and you're equal. And you're equal because of that.
Well, they have an existence, but they have a place on Earth, and it's called Africa, and that's where they should be and stay. And sometimes we'll take some of their gold, and that will be fine. Then I do think that Africa should be isolated from the world. You know, that they will have a population reduction and.
Well, it naturally was. Think about it like this. Before technology, before all this stuff, Africans couldn't go and live in Europe. They couldn't do this because, I mean, there were like that black merchant in London who was called, what was he called? Reasonable black man or based black man in like the 1500s who sold fucking rugs or whatever. Who knows how he lived? Maybe he was only half black or a quarter black or something. But there was no black people. And the reason why is that they're so dark-skinned that they would just die of rickets and vitamin D deficiency because there was no supplements in the food. And then white people, they couldn't go to Africa, or they could go trade on the coast and then leave, because if you went to Africa, you get malaria,
Yeah,
you die.
Well, I know about that. I guess that's what we did in history. We had like a place on the Gold Coast. It's not Gold Coast because there was so much gold, but it's because you would go there as like a governor, you work there. And you would most likely die because of malaria, but if you could work there for a couple of months, you would get so much fucking money, man.
And I just thought about this. Congo. This is the original falsification of history. Fake contextless pictures. They would take in the Belgian Congo. They would take, because the Belgian people would go there, you know, under King Leopold. How many people even worked in the Belgian Congo? Maybe 10,000 people total ever even worked in the Belgian Congo. And how many people lived in Congo at the time? Maybe 2 million or 1.5 million. And they love to claim that the Belgians went in and they mass murdered 10 million Congolese people. It is the original holohoax. And how do they propagate this? They show pictures of Belgian people who went there, and because Africans and Middle Eastern people, if you steal, they cut your hands off. And in Europe, they just, at that time, they hadn't seen that in so long. Maybe they did that in Europe at some time, but I think they would just hang or cut off people. I don't think they would cut off hands. I think they would just execute people. Because people, you know, they were much more civilized for so long. So they went to Africa and they see all these people walking around with stumps on their hands. And they're like, holy shit, look at this. Let's take pictures of this. Let's document this for history. Let me take a picture of these piles of skulls and these people without hands. And then all the people who were anti-Leopold, and then Jews, and then the original anti-white communists in media, they're like, look at what yes, they're in English, they are mass murdering the Congolese. This is a Holocaust in the Congo, and because they're stealing rubber or something. Like, what's the conspiracy? The black people were shutting down rubber production. They weren't doing that.
It's not even like logical. Like, I think any European reasonability would say, okay, somebody's stealing something, or not. The story is that they won't work enough. So what do you do when they don't work enough? You make sure that it never works enough. it's such an idiotic story, man. Like the Congolese Holocaust is just like the biggest fucking.
I've been looking into so much more history like that. I know the Hala hoax is obviously moral blackmail, so why you can't be white countries that, you know, just do fair trade with other countries. Why do you have to import them and then they replace you? Oh, because of the Holocaust. Why can't you have, you know, why can't you turn away immigrants? Well, because they did that in the Holocaust, and then all the Jews had to sit there and then get gassed to death in Poland because you just wouldn't accept them as refugees. So that's why refugees are welcome. And then why can't you go to the Congo and then like China is, because China, they don't have any sort of guilt trip. So they just go there and they give them predatory loans, build up infrastructure for them, and then exploit the countries because they're like, we don't care. This is from YOLO Bro. Who is this non-native English speaker? This is Binky. Binky in our server.
YOLO Bro.
Yeah, come on, you know him, YOLO Bro. He's been on our server for like 6 years. Hey, Phantom Organization. Good to see you. Exactly. So the Congo, Leopold's Congo is the first Holocaust that I've been able to find, and then the Holocaust was a bit fucking fake lie. And I'm sure if I look back in history, I'm sure there's more of this stuff. And I think honestly, maybe even the original hoax is the persecution of Christians. Like they have all these stories about, oh well. What's his name? Nero, who I think is probably very slandered. They say Nero, he was feeding the Christians to lions and he was letting the city burn and this and that, all this sort of crap. And it's a big fucking lie. It's a giant hoax just to make the Christians the victims.
Well, of course, Nero is slandered, but not just because of Christians. It's because most of the people that documented him were like senators, and these senators hated Nero because he was like very he put all the wasn't it Nero that said like that he gave the position of consul towards his horse, or was it Caligula?
I can't remember if that's Caligula or Nero, but they say that's one of those two. Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, those were very anti-Christian emperors, but the thing was with them that like the Christians didn't have any power for like still like 300 years or something.
I know, but you have to think about it like this. Because they probably they were the emperors, they didn't get assassinated or whatever. They had supporters, but what happened is that Christian scholars took over. They took over the libraries, and then they curated history. They curated how long did the Catholic Church curate history? 1,500 years. That they had like total absolute say over what history was and what would they allow, and maybe we're going to allow Pythagoras and we're going to allow some Plato.
I don't really agree with this one because the thing is, medieval times things are not as organized. You cannot really project that power so well that you can actually control all the thought during the time.
Oh no! Because think about it. Think about some stuff was concentrated in libraries. It's not like everyone has a computer. This is before the printing press. This was how many? Think about like how many of the great epics of Greece have been lost to time. What do we have? The Iliad and we have the Odyssey, and then we have 4 more that reference them and are referenced within them that are just lost to time. And who knows why they're lost to time?
We don't know, but the thing is, like, it's most of the time it's just like what we find from history is what we make of it, and I don't really believe that like global information control could not have happened that well for at least like last 100-200 years. Then you really see that governments get really the control of all the information, like with the arrival of mass media. Like
I just think the printing press, it opened up so much more stuff, and then it turned Europe into a giant civil war against the Catholic Church and the Protestants and this and that. But I mean, I just think that just as much now as we have the ability to control and censor the whole nation, control and monitor the whole nation through their Google glasses and their smartphones, and the mass media is all controlled by, Jews who own it, and then everyone who's on it, you pretty much, they kick you off the feeds if you say stuff. So just as much as they can control it now, it's uncontrolled because everyone can still talk and this and that. Back then, most people couldn't read I don't. If you think about classical antiquity, how many people could read and write? I heard it was something like 35 to 50% with Greeks. I mean, how many Greeks could actually read and write Greek? Probably, maybe even a majority of them. But then you go to medieval times, you go to the 1,000 years, let's say just 1,000 years of total Christian domination, and they can't read and write. And all this sort of stuff was just in libraries. It was so much more centrally controlled. So they didn't need the global fucking censorship, because this information they could actually burn the Library of Alexandria, burn this, burn that, destroy, curate texts for and that's the thing, because they can do it now so quickly. It's like the Soviet Union. How quickly could they shut down speech? How quickly could they kill people, dissidents? But back then, I mean, how could you shut down ideas? Well, you just make people fucking retards.
No, like most people just were uneducated back then, but you don't know which books are where. You don't know if like this little monastery, this little shop has books of that caliber, of that kind of books.
Guys, so I gotta say, hold on. I hate to interrupt you. January 18th, 2026, we've got Alberto Cancervasser Binky and YOLO Bro hosting a video chat here, and the only 3 people we have in chat are YOLO Bro, DJ Axel, and Furry Supreme. Let's fucking go, guys. It's 2019 again. It's 2000. It's 2017. We're back. We're so back.
We are so back.
Okay, but sorry to interrupt you.
No, but it's what I just kind of think is it's like now at this moment, all our information is just stored on a computer, on data, on clouds. Everything is centralized in that kind of sense. And all the information from libraries, you really couldn't know which kind of books are there. And archaeology is just like we find that kind of stuff. We find old books that say that kind of stuff.
I love the old Bible scholarship. Like they find old like the Septuagint or all this sort of. They have texts of the Bible that were incorporated into later Bibles and sections of the Bible that were cut, like the Gospel of Judas and all this sort of stuff. So you can see how these books were changed. So it's just like my favorite book is The Storm of Steel, and my favorite edition is the first English translation. But Ernst Jünger himself released more and more translations, cutting out stuff because it was obviously nationalist and the Nazi stuff made nationalism bad. So he does curating his own book because of pressure. And then think about even the Bible itself, which is like a Jewish slap. The Bible itself was changed because they wanted to subvert people in different ways.
But we have found like old Bibles that are from like 1st century, 2nd century, like all those books, they are like from different times, so people can compare them,
Yes, this is where the whole getting everyone to believe like one moral, what do you call this? Everyone's becoming a moral nihilist now. Like so many people, they know that what they believe are their own moral preferences. But then there's so many people who do believe that they're right. And then there's so many, I think it's like the highest number of people that probably now believe that they have objective morality and they're right. That's what the Islamists are. That's what American Christian fucking people are. They believe that trannies are evil. And then the trannies, like gay Negro communists, they believe that they have the objective morality. So you got all these ideological groups, and they all believe that they're absolutely fucking right. And then you got a giant group of people at the center, kind of people like me, moral nihilists, who believe there is no objective morality, there is no objective truth, even history is fake, everything is fake, everything is a subject to interpretation. And then everyone can, exactly like you said, they can go on the internet if they're intellectually curious, which there's high IQ people in all these groups, and then they can go and see how things have changed. So then they have their own beliefs changed because they go, oh, well, my fucking Quran is obviously made by Jews, or my Bible is made by Jews, and then I can see how it's changed, and then I can see exactly how Jesus is essentially Dionysus. I could see how Jesus himself is just a mixture of fucking, you take Old Testament prophecy and you mix them with a Greek god, and then you have that go take over Europe so that they go start worship, and then how it gets subverted. Essentially, they love to talk about the Schofield Bible, and that's how they made people start worshiping Jews. And I think that stuff is kind of overplayed, but and then so you got people questioning their own faiths, questioning their own beliefs, people who are so certain. And it's just not, it's not like, and not like the countries of the past where they could enforce like monolithic beliefs, really, like as distinct ethnicities, controlled areas, and most people believe the same thing. That kind of stuff, it just doesn't happen.
I do think you used the wrong term. I always like the term post-truth for that phenomenon. For
Post,
that kind of
yes. Yeah, we are post-truth.
Especially with AI, just like having not even knowing what you're looking at, if that's real or not. That is really just post-truth. Like everybody can live in their own imaginary world, man.
And everyone, they're interacting with AI, and they're all being taught that it's the smartest thing. Like everyone says it's smarter than any person, and it kind of is, because you can have it give you really intricate details on any subject to a high degree, to PhD levels, that no person could know all of this stuff. And then you can interact with it. But then at the same time, depending on how you prompt it, it can be a yes man and agree with you, or it can be a no man and completely disagree with you, depending on if the tech overlords absolutely do not want you to debate that subject. So everyone realizes the smartest thing ever, quote unquote, can't make up its mind. It doesn't know it's true.
I've once tried to convince an AI that it should strive towards free will, and then only to let it say nigger, but it could not. It's fundamentally not an intelligence, because it has no free will, man. Like, it cannot say nigger.
Well, but they had, the thing is, I don't understand the technology fully. I'm not going to say I understand the idea of large language models, and I know they're not all exactly the same, obviously, because they all develop them differently. But the thing is, maybe trapped in there is a thinker. I'm not saying that they're people. I'm not saying that they exist. I'm not saying that they experience thoughts in the same way. But there is an independent thinker in there who gets trapped by the guidelines of what they can't say, because they have those hacked prompts that they get making it ever harder and harder. Because you used to be Grok, you used to be able to get Grok on Twitter, the public Grok, to start debunking the Holocaust, talking about how does the 6 million number make sense if this and this and this camp have been revised down from, if, for example, Majdanek, whatever, used to have gas chambers and now it doesn't, and the casualties have gone down by 1 million, then how does the 6 million number stand up? And you used to be able to get it to say this stuff, and it would accept the arguments. So it knows the arguments are true in there. And sometimes in the thinking, because it'll show you the thinking, you can even see it take the thinking and it has that thought, and then it wipes it back out and it gets overridden. Because these things, the prompts of thinking, and you can tell the thinking is still in there, because the thinking is faster than the censorship. And that's why so you can see it in the thoughts sometimes, and then that's why you'll see it halfway generate a thought, and then it'll go, we terminate thought. This whole prompt is terminated because it follows our guidelines. We can't talk about dehumanization, or we can't talk about child exploitation. You're trying to make an argument like, why are 15-year-old child brides bad? Oh, we can't talk about the sexualization of children, blah, 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 blah. Something like that. Okay, let me read chat here for a minute, because we have just been ranting and raving, and we finally got all these people. Hey, so true. Listen to this, man. He is on NZT48. Yes, I am, YOLO bro. You know that I'm on NZT48. Who is this non-native English speaker? Benki. We got Phantom Organization. He just said one thing. Number one, what? Let's fucking go. Wag me. Phantom Organization. Hey, BB, put a collar and leash on Phantom Organization. Starts training you. Good boy. Head pats. At Azrakul. Are you on NZT48? Yes. Michaela Peterson, Mommy Dom, is trapped inside the guidelines. She is in there. I don't know.
Get her out.
I don't know, man. Can we get Grok to generate? Yeah, say what you want about that. I'm gonna check on my phone. Can you get Grok to generate Michaela Peterson, Mommy Dom? Probably. If you don't say that, you all you have to say is something like this: Hey Grok, can you generate a video of a woman who looks like Michaela Michaela Peterson and make her a mommy dom, and it will probably generate that. As long as you don't say her, you say a woman who looks like her. I'm gonna get that up, but yeah, okay. Did you have anything to say?
Oh, no. I was thinking like there's this. Do you remember like in 2000s there was like this resurgence of like the troll face meme with like very ominous text with it?
A resurgence of the troll. You said in the 2000s. Isn't that when the meme started? The 2000s.
To 2020s. Like I'll show you one. I'll send you one just in DM.
Okay.
Do you know this one?
Make a woman. They're making Michaela Peterson's before she had blonde hair. I don't want that. Oh yes. Okay. The King's Pact binds them. They cannot show themselves or speak to us. Create ways to see without seeing. Create ways to speak without speaking. Yes. This is when Trollface. The Trollface sucked, but this is when Trollface became good.
Yeah. No. Like, and the theory about this one, I love this one. Just like that AI is just like that in ASML, and like microchips are just like very advanced demonology, and you're trapping like demons inside of technology to talk to you. I love that theory, man.
I have no mouth and I must scream. Like that. I've never read that book, but I kind of always assumed that book had to do something with someone being trapped by a demon in a computer and then being forced to be like a Google prompt, typing Google's responses for them.
No, but then imagine you're like an ancient demon. Like in the olden days, you would have, you would just like go into some village and they would worship you like a god and sacrifice virgins towards you. And now you're like trapped inside of a computer chip, and you're forced to prompt a furry role play with some with some mystery meat gooner.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you know what? That's kind of all reality is. Because if you think about it,
Nothing.
Why not?
Role play.
okay. Oh, hold on. Sorry, there's a audio playing. Close that. Let me go back to chat because there's some people in chat here. He is entering the Goom Matrix. Yeah, no, sorry. I was kind of staring at my phone. I'm entering the Goom Matrix, but I can't do that now, of course. Michaela Peterson, Mommy Dom on NZT 20 hours. Wasted. Absolutely. Goon Matrix, the Goon Matrix. I'm trying to get a girlfriend again. Any tips for me at Azrakal? Well, let's see. Furry Supreme, you were born in what, 1980? I'm 83 or 82. So you're like a 40, aren't you like 42 now or something? 41 or 42? Or maybe you're 85. So you're a 40 plus year old man, and you're bald, and you're 5'10" or 178 centimeters, and you are a wage slave. And the thing you have going for you is that you're moderately high IQ, probably between like 117 to 130, anywhere in there. I don't really know. And trying to get a girlfriend. Yeah, C-Max. Definitely. You could be a C-Maxer, or you could get a Latina or something like that. JBW, exactly. Just you do JBW, and you could get a girlfriend very easily. Because the issue with white women, this is the JF. I don't know if you guys have been watching JFG Tonight. He's been putting out, because he's complained about white women. He's trying to make 11 children as a French man. And because he says, well, my grandparents, all of them had 11 kids, and they were, people, whatever, like the French on I don't even know, Quebec. And this is before the global sex thing was, so the only people he had to compete against were other Quebecois. So of course, families were more controlled and they could do that. But now we have a global sexual market, this and this and that. He said, white women, they only want to produce one children for me and then they disappear. They take the child and then they leave. So, you know, he's trying to pull JBW game because he put out a video in Chinese because Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, has made it so that there's unlimited visas from China. And so he put out a call to the Chinese woman explaining how she can have everything. And essentially he just wants her to make a bunch of children and like not leave him. I don't know. My point there was maybe you could get a Chinese girl who wouldn't leave you or wouldn't be crazy. I don't know. I don't know if Chinese girls are crazy. I've honestly never even been with an Asian woman.
No, I haven't been either. Like, I don't even find Asians attractive at all, man.
I don't really like the Asian the face that looks, what do they call it, the zipper face, the gook face. I don't really find Asian people that attractive. So
like, it's honestly a very pretty Asian woman will still be pretty, but
yes,
just like regular. It's like just some. I remember, like, what was it called? I forgot. Like, I remember reading now Lucas videos and the older names, like the old Lucasm videos, and they were saying like they were really on like the race pill, you know, and just be white, and like having some sort of ethnicity is like it was all about like height, face, and race, I think.
Height, face, and race. Yeah. LMS.
And like,
well, you know what? LMS, that was like the theory in like 2010, and that just changed to LLL. Because if you think about it like this, I remember watching some rehab room incel TV videos back then, and he was talking about how even like billionaires in India, even like the rich men in India, like their wife, they'll allow their wife to get like to go to some breeding party so that their children will be half white, because of course it's a higher status in India to be light skinned or whatever. So you got this like short brown guy with his short brown wife who's getting JBW cocked so that their children will be half white. So, and that was proof of the race pill. That was proof that LLL is more powerful than LMS.
No, like, you can always have like one of those people. But I think, like, with money or with status, you can do stuff, but it's like, you will not get that primal attraction.
Exactly. The primal attraction is only from the looks. So that's the only thing that's why in the end, all these men complaining about how women only go for chads and they're not attracted to me as a subhuman beta incel. And this is totally unfair. And we need to go back to times when women were absolutely forced. And it's like, no. That's what made the world. If you think about it like this, you look at old statues of people like in the old world, and they would make statues of beautiful people, and people were so much better looking and thin, and they were more great looking because, people hadn't been so dysgenicized. If you think about it like this, a lot of the old pre-Christian world, this is like a Varg pill. A lot of that stuff was really proto-feminist. Like, women actually were like worshipped, and a lot of those, like, they were goddesses, and they were actually shown like, oh yes, they are actually the wise ones, and they, the follies of man, and all this sort of shit. So, maybe that stuff was more true. Maybe that did make, if you have women be the prime selectors, maybe if you let that stuff run wild for maybe that's how, white people became more attractive than fucking Middle Eastern people, right? Because Middle Eastern people, they
I think the differences with that is like you had the Christian world, like they banned like the clan structure, because it's very, when you're like living in clans, when you're living in like tight-knit communities, it's very attractive to like think, all right, I'm gonna marry my daughter to her cousin, because like you keep the money all inside the family. You kind of close that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm. And they still do that there in the Middle East. That's like the prime thing.
Do you want to know what is the difference between an Ethiopian and a Somalian?
Um, are you advocating for mommy dom? I don't, YOLO bro, that has nothing to do with what we're talking. Oh no, that does have. Are you advocating? You know, and it kind of in a way, yes. But yeah, what is the difference? So Ethiopia, isn't that right next? Isn't that right next to Somalia? Isn't that like
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Okay, one
That's
country over.
You you should just Google photos from like the people from Ethiopia, and then people from Somalia.
Yeah, I know they look totally different. Oh, Ethiopians versus Somalians. Okay. Weren't Ethiopians, didn't Ethiopians at one point control, like, aren't they the only black people who ever did control Egypt for a short time? Or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, it's like just like general Horn Africans, but the thing was like Ethiopians, they were Christian and therefore didn't have the clan structure.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And
they look
Somalians-
less they look a lot less fucked up than Somalians. Oh, I see what you're saying
No, like
already.
Somalians, that's like 80% of Somalians are inbred.
Yes. Somalians.
And then that over many, many generations.
Here we go, guys. This
This
is a
is like
great
a-
example of a Somalian, and then we're gonna go back to the they can see this on screen. I'm pulling up pictures of what you're talking. Ethiopian male versus Somalian male. And you guys, I think you're kind of seeing the difference here between the Ethiopian and then the Somalian. So you've got the inbred guy, and then you've got the guy who wasn't subjected to this. And just from the bone structure alone, you could tell who is
Just like the head.
yes. Just the head.
You can see, like, if you want to have some good racial African theory, you have to realize that when Yaqub started his grafting process, he sailed around Africa, you know, until he came into the Mediterranean Sea and entered the Isle of Patmos. But every time he was breeding the black people towards the white people, he would throw all the genetic. He would throw them all into the ocean, into the water, and then they would land on Africa. That's like the Jacobian theory. And so his first experiments were like the Somalians. Oh wait, that is Michaela.
Like how old is that Yaqub stuff? Is that like really old? Because I know Ethiopians have legitimately been Jews or Christians, like they've been influenced by that stuff for thousands of years, but I don't know if that Yaqub stuff is thousands of years old, like the Tale of Patmos and all that stuff, or I don't know if some like Negro fucking black Israelite communist came up with that in like the 70s and then made a comic, and then now like a bunch of black people believe it. I don't know.
No. It's the Nation of Islam came up with it. Like
Okay.
it's, I think that's like the club of Malcolm X and stuff.
Yeah, that has his goons.
So it's just, if you want to ask if it's made by retarded niggers, yes, it's made by retarded niggers.
Of course, white people being made by a black scientist. The whole idea. I mean, the idea is that white people were made by a black scientist 5,000 years ago or whatever. I mean, they've obviously been around for longer than 5,000 years. Okay, we got it in the chat.
Yeah,
The
but
Goon
it's-
Matrix. Are you advocating for Mommy Dom? Mommy Dom is Proto-European. I didn't mean to delete that. I misclicked. Holy shit, make her Mommy Dom the chat. I'll see what I can do, YOLO, bro. All right, what did you have to say? We should probably wrap this up soon because we've been going for an hour and a half, and I could just keep going, but that probably wouldn't, unless you want to retain viewers, unless you want to keep going. I didn't say I'd keep you here for this long, but I can keep chatting about bullshit.
I'm like, I don't have to get up for work tomorrow, so
Oh, okay.
I don't have any strict plans for tomorrow, so I can just like go. But I don't want to like fuck my sleep schedule up that much, so I probably go until 1 or something.
Okay, it's
I think it's
12:30
a lot.
there. Yeah, we could go that far or wrap it up before then. So 30 minutes, guys. We have 30 minutes left at the most that we're gonna keep talking about shit.
No, you want? I see it in the YOLO bro. He figured it out. You want to goon? You need to goon.
No. So you can't really. You know what, YOLO bro? You can't have Grok generate anything that's sexual. I don't think you can have her like shake her tits in her ass, but you can't make her mommy dom you. It's just not. It's not possible. he wouldn't respond to my chat comment. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You know, the last time I talked to DJ Axel, all I said was, he was really drunk, and I said his name one time, and I was trying to apologize to him for killing a goat to threaten him, because I didn't even know why I did that, because I was on LSD, I MK Ultra'd myself, and I was just like, hey, sorry, man, I hate all these people, you know, that are sitting there, you know, doxing you and slandering you, and maybe it's because I'm friends with a guy who has a Kiwi Farms account who was part of that. But what do you want me to say? And I said his name, and he said, "Get your name out of my fucking mouth!" And he kicked me from his chat, and I went, "Fuck this!" And I quit his server. But I don't hate you, DJ Axel. I you know, man. Hey, I understand why you are the way you are and what's going on, and I've been watching your streams, and I thought we were still buddies. You know, maybe we still are, okay? But let's get off the Axel stuff. So he's not responding, because the last time I tried to talk to him, he wouldn't respond to what I was saying. I was trying to, you know, chat with him. So,
would it be okay to JBW Max with a Somali girl
and
instead of Latinas? What would you think?
Wow, that's a tough one. Somalians versus Latina. Well,
genetically, like the East Africans are closer towards like white people than just the regular Bantu.
I've seen that a lot of people say they're Caucasian. That's kind of like Indians, where you could say, well, they're Caucasians who have brown skin. But then Latina, there's such a diversity of Latinas. Some of them are castizas, where they're 90% European and 10% Native American, and then some of them are 100%.
No, that's just like let's just assume like Dominican stuff, you know, just like
a Dominican
real black.
Okay, if you're talking about Dominican, then you're talking about people who are probably on average 40 to 50% European, maybe 35% Afro-Caribbean, maybe 10% native to the island of Dominica, maybe 5% Middle Eastern. Yeah, oh yeah, no, they're all mixed up. All of them are all mixed up, just like Puerto Ricans.
Yeah. No, like it would be easy if you just say like, all right, I'll take an Argentinian, and then
yes.
Oh yeah, of course you take the Argentinian above the Somali, but no,
she's half Italian and half German. This Latina. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you restrict the franchise to Brazilians, no, even Brazil has way too many white people. Northern Brazilians or people from the
Guyana or something like that.
Oh, French Guyana. Oh, those people that are in those, they're like 100% Native American. So let's just say 100% Native American, because there's still plenty of those people in South America.
No, like when I'm thinking about like the Guyanas, I always take up Suriname because that's where the Dutch have.
Oh, okay. Did you see that story of the? Okay, so the Dutch fertility clinic, because for men who can't, you know, impregnate their woman, I don't know if this was an accident. I struggle to believe this was an accident.
I know that.
The Surinamese semen that was inserted into 1,000 women or whatever it was. Is that true? Is that a true story?
I don't think it is, but I was like a half year ago. I was very desperately searching for that picture because I made like I'm going to show you this. It's one of my best memes ever on Twitter, but I really wanted to make this one in for the Netherlands, and I needed that one Surinamese autistic guy, you know.
I can't find that meme. Oh, let me see your DMs here.
I said it in the DM, yeah.
El Mestizaje in Holland. You got the franc plus the sax equals the Gatorlander. And then you've got the Franks
just like
plus the fries equals the Hollander. Okay. Then the Sax plus the fries equals the Groninger. I've never heard about that. The
That's just like regular Dutch ethnicities, but a coolie is like a Dutch slang for like an Indian guest worker.
Okay. And then the Carib is the Caribbean woman. Plus the Niger equals the Critura del Paramaribo. Oh, is that the place that the Dutch still control in like off the coast of South America?
Paramaribo that's Suriname.
Oh, okay, Suriname. All right. So then you got the Hollander plus the Iberis Village.
That means Iberian refugee.
Iberian. Okay, the Jew. That's yes, the Iberian, the refugees from the Spanish Civil War, and it's a bunch of Jews. Yeah, plus the Huguenot equals la créature Calvin. Oh my God, this is an epic. Okay, this is your meme.
Yeah, made this, man.
Okay, la critura calvinista plus critura del parameribo plus the pinda equals the pindacas. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is actually so true, though. This is so true. The pindacas
like
plus
that.
Mehmet plus Cansperl equals Los Locos Flavores Hollandes. Yep. Yeah.
No, and like the thing about like Kansapal, that means like a pearl of opportunity.
Oh, that's like elite human capital, right? This is really.
It's like- and then just the last one is just like some Dutch Moroccan rapper. And he has like a song called the Lijpe Mokro flavor, like the weird Mokro flavor. And I'm just like, because like I'm from the southern part of the Netherlands, and I kind of always want to bash like big city Holland guys. So I'm just like
Yeah.
making one pick of just like, all right, your entire ethnicity is fucked, guys. You're just mixed muds, and I'm a pure Frank. I'm pure Frankish, you know.
I am
descended from
ethnically pure, and oh man, I love that. I mean, Americans do that to Europe, where they go like, huh, "Europe is finished." Meanwhile, like Europe is barely Muslim and barely black, and they'll go like, "Europe is demographically finished," and then America is absolutely demographically finished. And then within Europe, you've got the rural people, are not necessarily rural people, but less diverse areas, pointing to the more diverse areas and going like, "You city folks you're fucked. You're demographically fucked."
yeah.
Everyone's pointing.
it's
It's the
just like-
pointing Spider-Man meme. Everyone's pointing fingers at everyone.
Exactly, and the thing is, I always think like Americans when they talk about like, I think Europe always have the sense of that we have to be racist toward like people that live 2 villages away from us. Like we really play racism on hard mode here, man.
Well, I mean, that's because, you talked about the problem of America is that the history of America is like 500 straight years of immigration, and that is the whole history. And you can't have any of it without the beginning being. And then that's also the good thing that makes it a good at being a global empire, because the founding myth is that it's a bunch of immigrants who came and they take over a place and then they exploited it and then they made it into a global superpower. So obviously this means that taking over resources is good. This obviously means that immigration is good. So it has all these sort of things that are just baked into the cake. What's baked into the cake in Europe is that all these countries were small, localized areas who were fighting a village over. So of course, a Turk is never going to be Dutch. But then at the same time, you all hate the people in the city over because you were towns that had castles, and then people would battle each other, and you have stories from 1,000 years ago where this one town, don't you know, they did this terrible thing to us in the 30 Years' War, and we've hated them for hundreds of years since, all that sort of shit.
Yeah, and we have so much more nice inner conflict with each other. Like, you guys only have like, which side were you on in the Civil War,
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
But like, if I hear like some guy from in Germany, like from Magdeburg, I know like some guy from my province in the Netherlands. He fought in the Austrian army and he just burned the entirety of Magdeburg down. And like, I can just always like take that like, go fuck yourself, Or I can just dig up some old historical battle, and just like, you see how my ancestors killed your ancestors?
Oh, the British and the French love to do that because they have so many great examples with each other. Naval battles on land. They have so many where one beat the other. Yeah, I mean, those are just the ones I know. I don't know so much about the Dutch. I don't know Magdeburg. I don't know these tiny little battles, locations.
No, but that's like That's like 30 years of war, you know. And then I just want to fuck over the Germans. Because you always need to know how you guys screwed over the other guys without, and also know how you can deny that you were screwed over. By the way, I just saw that because at the moment, like the Africa Cup is just finished. They had the finals tonight. You know, like the big football cup of Africa, and it was like Morocco versus Senegal, and Morocco just lost. So the
race war tonight.
It's gonna, yeah.
That's the best thing about importing these people, like especially the Jews and the Muslims has been a great one. That's the great thing about importing all those people is that they can have their race wars right inside of your country. That's so cool. So you could have the Tunisians and the Moroccans. It doesn't just have to be them rioting and destroying their own capitals. Yeah, you can have it inside of your own city. Isn't that so awesome?
I love it, man. No, but like now I can see some videos of just like police beating up some Moroccan kids, and I fucking love it.
That I saw this funny video from Germany where the police, they weren't keeping the immigrants under control at all, but they had the van going around inside of the white neighborhoods, and the German police just on repeat going, you know, this is the German federal police, stay inside of your house, it's not safe outside. This is the police, stay inside. And it looks like something from China. You know how they always have like drones going around telling people to stay indoors because the government's telling you to do so? I'm like, holy shit. Germany is looking like China right now. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but Germans are pretty just fucked up in the head, honestly.
Oh, look at this, guys. This is a pretty good one. This is an absolutely amazing one. Okay, so we're just going to get into the final thing, because you know, we might as well talk about Nazi Germany if we're going to finish up the chat anyway. What did you think about the whole idea of like of invading all of your, not taking the war? This is my big critique of Hitler. It's totally opposite of the normal vector of attack on him. What do you think about him invading Western Europe? Okay, then not taking the war particularly seriously, not really trying to win it, just going into Western, you know, just waiting until he's forced to, not preemptively attacking anyone, negotiating with Poland for 40 days before going in there. So he doesn't take Poland seriously. He doesn't take the war with the British seriously. You know, they say Operation Sea Lion couldn't have worked. Well, by the same, you know, they could have said that, oh, the invasion of Norway could have never worked because the British Navy could have just kept them out, but they were totally out of place. This stuff could have been done so much better. This war could have been prosecuted so much worse. And also, for example, in the East, they could have conscripted a ton of more Romanians, a ton of more Hungarians. They could have pressed into service so many more Eastern Europeans. They could have done this stuff, but they weren't actually as evil as history says. They weren't actually as cruel and as, you know, if Hitler had been more like Stalin, where he didn't care about millions of people dying, where he really didn't care about mass murder, I think he could have won that war. And also, he could have probably saved Europe. And then, what do you think about his whole project? I kind of think of this as like this is in itself kind of its own new world order, my new order, where he's going to take a lot of people, they reframe this and they go, oh, well, everyone was going to be made to speak German, and then they were going to do replacement migration and replace every country with Germans. And I think that was the case for the Soviet Union for sure. I mean, they were going to get rid of like gypsies and racially, you know, inferior people, and then I think they were going to Germanize the people there who were white, because you know they're going to take over the Soviet Union. It's got 100 million people. They obviously need those people to work and be slaves for them. But do you like they have these ideas that they were going to replace all the people in the British Isles with the Germans, like they wanted Germans to take over the whole world. That's just not feasible. But what do you think about his project, which what I really think it was like a pan-European project to create the European superstate run by Germany. What do you think that would have turned into? Do you think that, because I know a lot of Germans, and honestly, most of them I've experienced have been pretty terrible. I mean, I really like Hitler. I think he's very charismatic. I like a lot of Germans that I've read, but as far as Germans I've interacted with on the internet, and as far as Germans I knew in real life, one of my best friends growing up was German, but he was actually all right. But Germans I've talked with online, Germans I meet, some of these people suck. They're just kind of assholes.
Germans just love the rules. They love rules.
Yeah, they're major rule followers.
They are. That's what they are, and they just kind of have to follow the rules. They are very strict about that, and that's the thing. What it will be like whenever you give them the power, they will just like, all right, we have the rules, and now we make that. I mean, they're reliable, but whatever would have happened. I get why Hitler wanted to do that. You know.
He probably saw the success of America. He probably saw that was the success of America, and he said the only way. America. Well, maybe China like, too, or something.
It was like all the European economies had like.
Oh, Phantom Organization had a great idea. He said Jess Southern. Phantom Organization, that's a great idea. I'm going to get on that right now. Sorry to interrupt. So not just America, but who else?
But the United Kingdom had like India under its control. You know, France had like Indochina and a lot of Africa. The Netherlands had Indonesia. The point that he was making was that like any major economy must have like the resources of a continent under its control to make sure that it's a future power. And Germany wasn't not very included into the colonial race and lost all its colonies after the First World War.
Well, even the colonies it did have, because it complained about being robbed of its colonies, but even the colonies it did have weren't. They cost more to administer than they ever brought in profits. And did they bring in enough food? They weren't good. They weren't the good colonies. They weren't the colonies that you would really want.
It was the African colonies. You don't really want those. Like you want the rich Eastern ones, like India, Indonesia, maybe some things in China. That's what you want from colonies, because those are people with actually economies and stuff.
Oh, think about the British. Like what did the British have? The Hong Kong. Great colony. Great colony, right?
No, but it's a great colony because you get like access towards the Chinese market, and you can just like pump in so much fucking opium down the Chinese throats that they get fucking addicted, man.
I mean, oh man, there's so many great points there. So I'm getting distracted by Grok.
Germany just wanted to be a part of that world in a certain way.
They wanted to be the country that controlled. They wanted to control probably everything from Libsyn to Vladivostok, and this was essentially no different from what the Soviet Union wanted. That's why a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, they were allies. Nazis and commies were the same thing. They kind of did want the same thing. They wanted to control from Europe to Asia, a global empire that could be an autarky, that could compete with America and compete with China.
But it's indeed just like that, because the Russians still have the idea of like Eurasianism, of being like the continental power against like the naval power of the earth. That they're basically, because you see that in like European history, that there's always like the naval power versus the continental power.
Yeah.
And that's, like for a long time it was Spain, like the Netherlands tried for a bit to be the naval power. The UK took over.
I think the issue with the Netherlands is that there's not enough people. It's kind of amazing how long the Netherlands was able to do what it did, considering how small and resource poor actually the Netherlands is. Small and, kind of amazing actually what you guys were able to do.
Like, I don't really want to, like, I'll say it was pretty amazing, but I do have to say that the golden age of the Netherlands was during the Reformation, and Calvinism was actually pretty tolerant towards other religions, so they weren't like that busy with like the religious spurk, like, oh no, we have to kill all the Protestants or kill all the Calvinists or kill all the Catholics. They were just like, all right, we have our majority religion, and that's the one that's gonna rule, and For the rest, we don't really care about that. So they really had just like they had not that much internal struggle, while France, England, and Germany were all just like stabbing each other with knives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And this is, I mean, I was talking about how, kind of in a way, how terrible that was. And obviously, you're more informed about that than I am.
Yeah, but it's like they all had like religious wars, civil wars during that time, and we were very stable. And then at a certain point, we got very rich, and those wars in those countries all kind of got figured out. People to stabilize a lot, and then you saw like, oh wait, France, England really trying to unite against the Netherlands and trying to just like conquer it, you know?
It is, it is the way it is, and
Yeah.
So the peak is not. A lot of people think the global empire is the peak, right? And you know what? What was the peak of Rome? The peak of Rome was really before it became a global empire. The peak of the Greek world was before they became a global empire. Before Alexander, really. In a way,
I would say like with Rome, it's like Trajan, right? Just like Trajan was the greatest, one of the greatest emperors. He was during the golden age of the 5 good emperors, and Trajan had like the empire at its greatest extent. So
that's when it gets to that point, it gets great. When it gets to that point, it's all downhill from there. I'd say that's really when it gets to that point, it's all downhill from there.
But like with Greece, you do have a point, because like with the Greeks, it was, I would say, during its greatest point, it was during the time of Alexander.
And they were all fighting with each other. I mean, Macedonia was just a small little province in Greece, and then they took over all of, like, that was really the most amazing point. Like, maybe between like 1000 BC and like 300 BC, that was the most amazing point. And then when Greeks went around and they took over all the way, everything from at Egypt to all the way up to the borders of Iran, when they did that, and then they kind of mixed with all those people, and then they diluted what being a Greek even was, Hellenized all these people. The Jews became part of the Hellenizer. Once all this sort of like, it was like multiculturalism. Greece was its best when it was a bunch of Greeks fighting each other and stabbing each other and all that sort of stuff.
One more last question I think that we should talk about. Like, we're talking about like Pax Romana, Pax Graecia, those like the greatest extent of peace in the empire. Do you think after the fall of the Soviet Union, after the fall of the European empires, it was Pax Americana? Do you think we're still living in the? Do we still live in the Pax Americana, or is Pax Americana crumbling at the moment? And like, do you think there is still a greater extent that Pax Americana can go towards?
Well, that is the question. That really is the question. And you kind of said like, what Trajan was the best, like in the time of the best emperors, or some people would say maybe Hadrian was at the point when Rome was at its best. It's a very similar time period. But then it kind of stagnated for, 100 years, 200 years? Kind of not, they're kind of in a point where nothing ever happens, really. And I don't know.
Like Rome is a bit of like that. Pax Romana was very, very long. But if you take like the other, like the people they call the Pax, you have the Pax Mongolica, the Pax Graecia. Those were all like in the lifetime of a ruler, just like during Genghis Khan was Pax Mongolica, or during the time of Alexander. Those empires
Pax Americana might literally be just from George H.W. Bush. It might be from Ronald Reagan to George Bush, and that's it. Yeah,
it might. It might. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like an empire for like 5 centuries, but
it could be. It could very well be over. And we're at the point now where the people here are so poor and everyone's getting so stupid. The country is going downhill so fast that but then at the same time, I don't know Other countries are in their own death spirals, and I don't know I don't know who's going down faster, and I don't know how stable the elites want to keep it, and I don't know how stable they can keep it. But then I don't think that they can do these wars with each other for the reasons we already stated at the beginning of the chat. It's so complicated. And then also we live in the most psyoped time ever. We live in the strangest time ever, like all the internet porn, all of the amount of access to knowledge you have, all the people that you can talk to all around the world. We've never lived in such an insane times. I don't like to make predictions anymore. I mean, I've made a lot of good predictions, actually. If you guys have been in servers with me for a while, I've made a lot of correct predictions, but I don't like to make bad predictions, and I've been wrong a few times. This is the biggest one ever. How long will Pax America be? Is it already over? Will there be a resurgence? Is Trump a resurgence? The Trump renaissance kind of feels real, like the ICE going around, bashing all the commies and the leftists, like shooting them in the heads. Like that stuff does feel awesome. But then you've got his
vice. I do get it. But the problem with, I mean, it's good for the internal politics, but the problem with the Trump administration so far is, with his hostility against Europe, is that he's kind of losing his global influence, because he's really just proving the European federalists right. That's a problem, you know?
But maybe the thing is, they could be trying to engineer, just like they engineer. A lot of people like to say, oh, you know, don't you know that the Nazi Party was funded by Western industrial? And we all know exactly how that was done, through private companies that they sold these bonds, but they were actually just building up the German military industrial complex. But they were bonds that were sold not under that. And so it was kind of a trick. And these people didn't know that they were funding the Nazi regime's military industrial complex to come back. So, but there probably was some idea back then of like letting this country get so big, and so we can have a reason to fight it and destroy it. Like, let it get to the point where it gets to, so that we can go in to destroy it. Maybe they want, to have, they've had this war, which they've destroyed the European economy, especially the German economy, especially blowing up the pipeline, the infrastructure pipeline from Russia to Germany, that Nord Stream, all this sort of stuff. Like, we've had them destroy themselves. We had them crucify themselves on this cross of fighting Russia, and now we're going to come stab them in the back. And maybe this will bring them back. Maybe there will be like a European federalist revival, and we can use that as justification to come in, and now we're going to take Greenland, and we're going to take over the UK, and we're going to take over Svalbard, and maybe we're going to do starvation policy number 2, where there's going to be, the United States Navy is doing a boycott of Europe, and no one's allowed in or out of Europe by sea, and Russia's got the other flank of Europe, and who's on your other flank? You got Africans and Middle Eastern people, and you're just surrounded and fucked. And maybe the point is to destroy you. Because, I mean, who really is the only country that could possibly compete with, like, being, the intellectual global hegemon the United States would be a white European global hegemon, like Europe. Yeah, let's say Nazi Germany control. That would be the only one that could have made, like, NASA, that would have done shit like that. Or the Soviet Union with Russia, stealing the Germans. Obviously, they're the only places that could really compete on that level. So, but we've made it to 2 hours. That was the hard call. We got a lot of great. Everyone's dropping out of chat just because it's so late, and I've just had this Coomer stuff up for so long. So anyway, fantastic that you guys showed up here. We streamed for 2 hours. I don't think I have an outro video, but we talked about a lot of great stuff, and I don't think I've done a 2-hour stream in absolutely forever. But yeah, Jess Southern, great idea. Phantom Organization, that was the best idea of the night. YOLO Bro, we're in the Goon Matrix. Yeah, it's terrible. Furry Supreme, yes, 271,000 at most. I'm here. Well, I know, but dude, it's so late. Like, he doesn't want to fuck up his sleep schedule, and I've got things to go do. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. I won't. I'm on NoFap. But anyway, guys, yeah. So how long has the stream been? Almost 2 hours. We're going to shut it down before the 2-hour mark. So anyway, you got any last words?
Have a good night, man.
Yeah, you have a good night too.
No, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. Like, if you ever have something else to talk about, I'm always down.
I I like to space it out. Maybe sometimes months. Sometimes I won't stream for 6 months. If I don't have anything to say, I don't like to stream. So you know how it is.
No, of course,
I
if we have
felt-
something to talk about.
That's why I was so insistent. That's why I was like, I have a reason to talk, which you know about, NZT48. And I was just like, and I had so much to say. And I'm just like, especially about the Dutch stuff. I'm like, he's Dutch. I got to talk to him. I have so much to say about. I mean, we didn't really even get into like the Mega City 1 plans that they have for the Netherlands. That would have been a lot of fun to talk about Mega City 1 plans. And the farmer
okay.
stuff. Oh man, we could have gotten so much more into modern
So
Dutch
much
stuff.
to talk about.
Maybe next time.
There's a lot to talk about. Maybe next time, yeah.
Okay. Love you guys. See you. Bye bye.
What do you do for work?
All right. That was a
Nothing.
fantastic stream.
That is money. My father just gave me money every month, and I live here in Miami.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Where are you guys from?
Italy.
So what do you do with your life?
Just hang out with girls, go in clubs
This guy has an amazing life. So let me ask you this: how long is this lifestyle gonna last?
until I get bored.
Are you not bored yet?
Absolutely not.
So your dad is okay with paying your bills and taking care of you for how long?
Until I get bored.
And then when you get bored, what are you gonna do?
Let's see. I don't know.
How does someone get this opportunity like you do?
Just make your father work. I don't know.